So we've got to be careful with these things about where we're placing teams earlier in the season because, so, you know, it's a long season. We got a couple months of this, so we got to see how these teams develop. Anyway, we're getting into the match now, folks. It's our final one of the day. Soniqs versus DarkZero. Time to see who comes out on top on Oregon. Already the first ban going out is Ash is going to get thrown out by the DarkZero roster.
Yeah, I don't think it was DarkZero. I think it was mostly Skies removing Ash. Just doesn't want to deal with it in the hitbox and every other problem that you can possibly find with the operator. Either way, not going to have Ash out on the field, and that's going to limit the soft destruction potential, as well as getting rid of a couple of cornerstone utility pieces from the defense. As for the rest of the bans, though, as we follow things through, Soniqs will pick up the two mid bans, and that's going to be Thatcher and Mira. Nothing too big to call home about, some just regular utilities. So for the offense, we're more than likely going to be seeing a lot of hard breach centralized around that Maverick play, and then in comes the lady that we see sing all the time inside of the ban phase, VALKYRIE, now gone, as she won't see the battlefield yet again.
Yeah, so aside from the Ash ban, which is just more of a personal choice more than anything here, things aligning pretty well with normality for our bans. Nothing too out of the ordinary here, so we should expect fairly standard play as a result of that. That's assuming, of course, we don't get any crazy operator picks being thrown out into the midst of things, which we have seen a couple change-ups to the way that, specifically, I think attackers are playing this map, and a great example of that's sitting right in front of us right now. Ying suddenly coming into the picture in a big way here for basement attacks after people weren't really feeling that recently, and apparently the Soniqs are not feeling it now, as it's looking like that's going to get 6-picked out to a Lion. Waiting confirmation. And
nope.
Okay, there you go. It just auto-locks in. So.
Attackers need to locate and
Some fantastic stuff here for the Soniqs. Nice 6-pick as well, locking the Ying first. I didn't really think that the Ying was going to come through simply because that's not usually one of the operators we see brought out in the first reveal phase. That's also something that we don't really talk about as commentators either, just because it seldom has an influence over the round when it comes down to it. Even inside of this round, like obviously DarkZero could be suspecting the Ying, but immediately when the first EE1D goes off, they're going to know the situation. They know that that's more than likely been switched out because the rest of the people in the lineup aren't something that you're going to 6-pick away from a Lion to keep a Ying. So we'll see how DarkZero try and set things up across the map. As of right now, it seems they want to go for this roam setup, and that actually could come to bite them later on inside of the round simply because of that 6-pick from the Soniqs being that Lion. It's going to construct a lot of this movement and make it to where DZ can't possibly spin around the map how they want to. We'll see how the Soniqs want to try and break things up.
It's combined with a Nomad as well, so it's going to restrict the overall movement for DarkZero quite a bit here, especially in the early round, as Kansan will start to take more control and start to cordon off those areas of the map. And then in emergency situations, if they need to clear someone out that they have a little bit of intel on, they want to just push the general area where that player is assumed to be. That's where the Lion can maybe come into play, and of course for the executes as well when we finally get to that deeper point inside of the round. Rexon, a quick check up here towards T3, thought he was clean and got away, but unfortunately is not going to be the case. The drone gets stolen just as he was working his way through the hop right there, but regardless, they're going to take it out. No extra info going back the defender's way after Mozzie steals the drone, and also full big tower control looks like it's going to be taken here for the Soniqs pretty quickly as well.
Absolutely. DarkZero just going to play this slow and steady. Some reinforcements strung along the entire map. You can see as of right now, they've set up for a meeting/kitchen defense to hold down this top area, as well as someone to restrict access to the attic hatch. Some really solid stuff across the board for this DarkZero squad, and there's so many angles that are more than likely unbeknownst to these players that they have to now worry about, and this is where Siege can get very, very troublesome. As you rotate around the map, there's just random holes everywhere, and you don't exactly know if someone's manning them, and that's what's presented in front of the Soniqs just now. They will breach out the stage wall, though, to look into meeting, and it's actually going to be them taking more damage than they're giving. Continuing to delay the time is DarkZero. They see the butt of the Jaeger as NJR finally gets taken down off some poor positioning. DarkZero finally with the pressure back onto them.
Mint continuing to wait out on the inside of kitchen here, hoping a little bit of pressure is going to work itself his way from the inside of the meteor there, but not going to happen immediately. The Soniqs obviously are focused on the basement take, meaning that Mint maybe sometime before he finds any sort of contest at all, and he's going to start to get in a position to rotate back down to the basement should the execute bypass him, which is looking very likely now. Soniqs shifting into that backstairs construction push, and they've got the drone POVs to prove it here as they work their way forward. They're also going to be able to quickly take construction control. Absolutely zero resistance to this push right now coming in from DarkZero as they're holding the back line, not trying to stop the initial take.
All Sonics with very minimal time left to get this execute to go off, but they've got the pick necessary now, and they've done a very good job about staying alive and maintaining this. But now, as soon as I say that, Mint takes down Super. That's a big pick as well. He won't be able to use that hard destruction any longer, and instead, it's going to be a direct contention from the Sonics with very minimal time remaining. No more EE1Ds either. They need this plant to happen now. DarkZero thwarting it at every single turn, though, as the kill feed lights orange. It's down to Kansan, who's slowly losing his health from the smoke. He goes to swing, but it doesn't matter. He'll stay alive inside of the Toxic Babe, and DarkZero simply have to sit on their hands and win the round. Some really, really strong stuff from them overall to not only delay the Sonics' time, but to play that utility to perfection in those last 30 seconds.
Not even really a bad choice for Kansan just to hop in the smoke there. It's an unexpected angle. He was hoping he could get a quick kill off of that. Obviously, I don't think he was expecting to sit in it for like the full 5 or 6 seconds that he was in it for, but was hoping there would have been a quick swing from the freezer hold and then would have been able to try and get more aggressive from that point, but just didn't end up panning out, unfortunately. I like the creativeness, or at least the intent behind that play, however. We'll quickly move up to kids after a successful defense from DarkZero. The back line strategy works out perfectly. The combination of the mute on that little wall going out from pillar to the inside of the site, along with the gas grenades blocking access from the inside of electrical, and the general hold stopping a push down the main hallway, made it pretty much impossible for the Sonics to be able to get deep enough into the site to reckon for their plant, leading to a shutdown in the favor of DarkZero. So really great hold from them in the basement. Time to see what they can give us upstairs.
Oh yeah, some fantastic stuff, and it seems as though we're going to be going back to more of the same as well. Not a roam game here, but just more utilitarian defense from DarkZero. They want to try and lean on that and see if they can continue to slow down the Sonics. This defensive setup, not really aggressive at all. We're having Echo come back into the mix, which is an operator that's starting to be more prominent after his recent nerf, removing the invisibility from his yokai drones, forcing him to be more aggressive with those and just try and use them to really influence not only the information game, but possibly make some gunfights easier on those extended, hold gunfights, like, roaming or things like that, where it's more of a disjointed thing going on. Yokai can definitely support, and those, or the yokai drones can definitely support in those kind of instances. As for DarkZero, though, this is going to be less of a roam and more of a turtle setup for them now, and that's to be expected on this top floor. We could possibly have one sole member down low, and it seems as though we're going to have at least that. Mint's going to be in tow with Hyper on that Goyo as well.
We're going to continue to wait out the time here as he just fires in for a couple of shots towards security. NJR is going to find the early opening, working its way into Attic right there. Even some good pre-fire trying to catch Grixer on that hop-up position, but neither player is going to meet their mark. Everybody will stay at full HP, and the time will continue to tick down as DarkZero remains in control of the situation for the time being, with the Sonics making some progress here. We're going to see Spaghetti get open this little crawl hole to work their way to the inside of Attic and start to seriously take control away from the defenders here. Important to note, of course, we've got the Echo from Skies. You guys can see that yokai drone. Okay, never mind. You can't see that yokai drone anymore because it's dead. I was going to talk about how that could potentially cause some issues, but no longer, as we're also going to see the walk-in closet get open pretty quickly here. Eclipse actually staying on the inside, though, when he realizes that his rotate position has already been taken by his teammate.
Oh, sad days here for Eclipse. They still have to play out the closet close, but that's exactly what this kit was designed for. SMG-11 and M590 for smoke. That could possibly be the difference maker here to slow down the Sonics offense, but they're coming in so hot and heavy right now. Utility dumped in from Trophy, as well as some pressure put towards Master, but they're backed off once again by the defense. Toxic Babes pour out, as well as all hands on deck towards this area of the map for DZ. Sonics now trying to find a rotation. Rexon's actually going to hop down outside, looking to go towards Big Window instead, and this could be the game changer for them. You can see the yokai continuing to try and get information inside of Attic as well. NJR might have his first point of contact here. Is truly only Super taking damage so far inside of this round. This utility dance continues to go back and forth. The second EE1D pops off. They're trying to force inside of Attic. The yokai drone gets yet another click here off, and finally the Lion gets down, but not before Yeti can get the refrag. DarkZero come out on top of the pile, though, inside of this 4 versus 3.
Kanza continuing to inch his way back in. He needs to quickly get the diffuser back, and thankfully he doesn't have to fully peek the door in order to get it. Even better news, it doesn't look like there's anyone actually challenging him from the other side of this angle, so should be able to lurk his way in. I don't think he actually has the capability to go in is going to be the big problem, and the other problem is the shotgun sitting around the corner from him. Eclipse and Mint shut it down with 2 final kills, and DarkZero claims the second round. So far, flawless on the defense at 2-0.
Eclipse is the silent killer of DarkZero, man. That guy is such a backbone when it comes to the site. Even with that wall open, he continued to contest it the entire time with not only his toxic smoke, but also that shotgun, and really helped keep the Soniqs closed off from the site. They truly never were able to get actual control and attempt to get a plant down. Instead, DarkZero simply keeping them at the door. Some fantastic stuff so far from DZ. The Soniqs, though, they've been getting a decent amount of map control overall. They've been able to get walls open and things like that, create new LOSs and everything that you expect inside of Rainbow Six. But when it comes to the actual execute, that's where everything is going wrong for them. And it seems as though DarkZero continues to win out inside of these engagements. And I really think this is where DarkZero overall tend to, differ themselves from other people inside of the pool of, teams, is that DarkZero drill these kind of things all the time, and you can see how important that is for those crosses inside of those dying moments when you have multiple bodies trying to flood into sight, and DZ continues to handle the situation with flying colors.
So with DZ being in control, they're going to go to, once again, the more open of the 3 sites they have in their rotation here. The Soniqs, a good possible attempt for them coming in here to steal some control away from DZ, maybe put a round on the board as well. That's all dependent, especially for this site, on how we see the early round go. It's been a pretty stagnant early and mid round so far here for the Soniqs in terms of their capability to knock out any bit of the roam game, if there even is any, to be fair, from DarkZero, let alone take the appropriate map control needed for execute. Now, that second point they're not having a massive problem with. We still see them be able to get to their executes, but unfortunately the follow-up into the site is where we're seeing them start to falter pretty heavily. We've yet to see that change, so time to find out if the weaker defensive site is going to help them whatsoever.
Yeah, but this is the biggest problem right now for the Soniqs, is that they're not being presented any regular hand of cards. Oh, no. DarkZero are simply presenting them these impossible scenarios as the moment's given. That truthfully haven't seen this one just yet from any squad to actually move the deployable shield out onto the small tower balcony and play for the opposite window instead. And we're also going to have an aggressive hyper here as well, but what else would you expect from this man? Stun grenades in now, as well as some Omai discs all getting caught up inside of the ADSs and discs over there. Able to get rid of the deployable shield finally is the Soniqs, but that's already sheared away 1 minute's worth of time from the offense, and they still have to deal with hyper inside of the office. So really, what is it worth? Case still down. They actually still have the shield. I heard a grenade go off, but I assumed that that was the shield being destroyed. Hyper still has such an opportunity to continue delaying time, especially with these ADSs being up. Finally, an air jab gets him, and Kansan will clean up the kill, but Hyper will make it worth his while as 1.5 minutes is off the clock.
It's a good first find. As we saw, though, already one other player from the Soniqs getting lost. NJR inches away from potentially having one for himself there, but is going to remain stalwart. No noise intel given over to the Sonic side of things either as a result of that play. Still Showers control as well, or at least partial Showers control in the favor of DZ, but that might be changing over the next few moments. They are trying to swing their way in. Have to call that back, though, after a couple moments of aggression. Trying to work their way in, unfortunately, don't lead to a whole lot now. This will be interesting from Yeti if it works, and it looks like it will. Grixer with the follow-up to make it happen as well. Goodbye to Mint. What a creative play from the Soniqs to get rid of the hold on the inside of Showers, and now open up a whole new world of possibilities for their attack.
I would delete the game. I would just delete it right there. I'm so serious. That is such a rage-inducing play that the Soniqs just pulled off, and it's going to get even worse for DarkZero. NGR with a chance, and he finally does it, folks. But no, the Soniqs shut it down. NJR with what could have been his most influential round on DarkZero thus far, stunted as the Soniqs get their first offensive round on the Cafe Kitchen offense. Some solid stuff from them overall, especially with how slowly that round began with Hyper's play in the top of small tower.
Shows you how important that hold is on the inside of both cafeteria and showers, though that falls apart and the rest of your defense suddenly looks a lot weaker. The attackers getting so much to work with there. Even the great attempt from NJR to try to lurk around them and pick them off there as well, and nearly turn the round back on its heels, but unfortunately not to happen. Great play from the Soniqs, great follow-up from that kill from the Soniqs to be able to get the control they needed to shut that one down. More importantly, put them on the board here finally. DarkZero was looking to take a very dangerous amount of control of the matchup at 3-0 had they lost that round, so things are looking a lot better overall for the Soniqs here. Now we're going back to the basement. We're going to have to see how Soniqs will adjust their own take to go up against what was a very, very strong hold from DZ on the last attempt, mainly focusing on holding the laundry area for the defense and not directly fighting against that backstairs and construction push that the Soniqs were trying to go for.
Well, we can already see quite a few things changing inside of the lineup for the Soniqs. They don't want to bring the Ying or the Lion. Instead, they'll bring Rex in on the Yana, an operator that we're starting to see a lot more of given the recent changes. Also, just to remind you guys, you are going to start seeing a lot of let's just say unorthodox operators that you really haven't seen in the, Siege's past come into play this season across the entire board of professional play, simply because the Gon 6 now exists. That's that secondary explosive device, as well as a lot of these operators that were just easier to work in, like Yana, because of those frag grenades. So just be on the lookout for that because of those changes coming in, and just some really, really good balancing by Ubi this time around. So, but with that Yana in play now for the Soniqs, they're going to have a little help in that info department like they did before with the Lion, but they can more than likely capitalize on this just a little bit easier, given Rexon just truly having a hologram and be able to run in and find any info. DarkZero doesn't have a single thing to prevent that from happening either.
See, just the usual setup working its way in for the Soniqs at this point here is they're able to get those air jabs on top of most of the staircases and a couple other pivotal rotate positions. Hyper maybe looking to do something from the backstairs here, but Drone Prez is going to limit his capability to do anything right now. 2 drones sitting right in his face that will see him immediately if he tries to make a move up this stair. So, not going to happen here. In fact, the Soniqs are now starting to stack towards that, possibly for a push. Anyway, we got 2 of their players in the area ready to move here. So, NJR, possibly other members of DarkZero, are going to have their fight, certainly in a moment here, just not necessarily in the way that they were expecting to get it. Drone Prez this one more time just to confirm the positions of some of these players. A frag grenade going out as well to try and see if anyone's sitting down below, dealing with some of the utility too, but once again, no damage done to the player base at this point. Hyper and NJR ready for the fight, but are they ready for the frags? That's the question here. Soniqs still waiting to see their swing. That's going to be the drone from the Yana there. Her hologram getting taken out relatively quickly. Still no progress being made as of yet, though, as we inch up to that 1-minute mark, and the Soniqs really start to complete their setup and get ready to commit to this one here. Gonna see a nice impact grenade. Actually knocks off about 25 of the HP from Rexon too, but I believe wasn't thrown for that purpose. Was mainly thrown just to deal with the air jab sitting halfway up the stairs.
Yeah, just trying to get some more pressure onto this offense and slow them down, but now it's the time for them to collide and see who can possibly win this round. Round 4 lies in the balance right now. Who can possibly claim this? No drones right now for the Soniqs. They're going to have to get aggressive sooner or later. Still just waiting for their opportunity to present itself, but DarkZero stands strong inside of sight. Multiple angles on multiple areas. Finally, the first leadoff pick. NJR gets a kill. Rexon finds one. NJR is now down from Grixer as the Soniqs are taking control of the situation. Still have to deal with men inside of sight with the 81 that could possibly present a lot of issues as he takes down Super, who's overstaying his welcome inside of Pillar. The case is now down. Soniqs need to try and pick this back up and get this plant opportunity set up in general. It's now down to Rexon, Kansan, and Grixer. Rexon with case control as they're working their way into stocks. They're only able to get one, but it's immediately traded back. Kansan getting lit up from the rear, but it's not going to matter. DarkZero win it on timer downstairs once again.
DarkZero change up the game plan for their defense in that round, instead taking a head-on approach to stop the overall push working its way in from the Soniqs, and it works, albeit it's a little bit scarier on the closeout from them, as there was definitely a lot of situations in the midst of that round where the Soniqs, especially on the XQ, where the Soniqs could have easily turned that into their favor and won it, but fortunately DarkZero was able to win out the majority of those late-round gunfights there and be able to control things as it got a little bit too chaotic for the Soniqs to handle after they were losing too many of their players trying to get down construction as well as those back stairs too. We'll see if DZ change. Well, we're not going to get to see that again actually because it's locked for the second time, so won't be going back to that site. DZ have a kids dorms defense coming up here on the 5th round. Only 2 rounds left here. Once again, solid impact being made by DZ on the defense as you would expect for Oregon, but to be careful here not to get too many rounds, otherwise the Sonics may be drifting themselves into a territory where they won't be able to work their way back in the second half, or at least it'll be very difficult to do so.
Yeah, rough water ahead for the Sonics, but we'll see if they can possibly pilot the boat through that. For DarkZero, these defenses, especially downstairs, have voted extremely well for them, mostly on timer, and I feel like it's not only been the amount of time that they were able to delay in the first one, but in that second one especially, how DarkZero was able to handle the lead-off engagements, excuse me. We saw DarkZero posing a threat towards Sonics the entire time, even with the hatches being opened, and that's why Sonics took so long to actually engage with them and clear out those initial areas. But the problem was, once Sonics cleared that out, they didn't actually have control of the site. They simply had the lobby control, let's say, to the actual area, and DarkZero already had crosses set up for the actual site. So when they actually try to go and push in there to get the plant down, they run into even more problems because they don't have the intel to try and, know the location of those site players. So far, this has just been played so very well from DZ. Let's see if they can continue this beautiful defensive half.
Once again, some of those initial setups just going down, the utility being deployed to restrict the roaming presence from DZ. To be fair, the roaming presence from DZ has been at a bare minimum, from what I can tell so far in this map here. They've been sticking very much to the sites and the extended setups directly next to them. We haven't really been seeing any long gone roams or anything like that. Even Mint's play right now is a bit further extended out from anything that generally we've been seeing from this team for the most part of this half here. Time to see if the Sonics still going to be able to work their way past the setup regardless here and get themselves onto the site. It's always near the site where the issues start to pop up here for the Sonics. Obviously, roam game being pretty non-existent means that the other parts of the map play are not going to be too troublesome, but it's these hard lock players like Eclipse sitting on the other side of walk-in as well as covering the connector door. That just seems so hard to deal with for the Sonics here, and they haven't figured out an easy solution to knock these guys out consistently, save for the one attack they had on Cafeteria.
Well, Sonics back at the exact same point that we've seen them a multitude of times before. They're getting closet control. They have Trophy, and the work's already begun on Attic. Master now completely open with a chance to actually work their way in, but I really doubt that Eclipse is going to give them even some sort of a chance, but it's not even him. Instead, it's Mint to strike first with the Nitro Cell that takes down Rexon. Lots of damage to Super as well, and very minimal drones right now for the offense. Grixer now working his way in through Attic, but NJR doesn't even want to give him the opportunity. He'll just lie in wait instead, when the actual frag will come from Spaghetti Yeti outside as he takes down Skies inside of Dorms.
Great lineup from Yeti there. A much-needed turn in the midst of this round, but it's turned right back into the favor of DarkZero a moment later there. NJR finding the pickup against Grixer. Yeti going to try to rotate himself over to White Stair. Super also ready to hop into Attic potentially, or Big Window later on in this round. It's coming down to the wire yet again, though, for the 5th round in a row here as the Sonics need to make a push, and unfortunately they have to make it with suboptimal health, suboptimal intel, suboptimal man count. It's just not looking great for them, but they've been able to do it once before. Time to see if they can do it again. In they're gonna roll. It's a 1-for-1 trade to start things out. Yeti knocks out Eclipse. Mint takes down Super. Kansan and Yeti, but now the last two, and now only Yeti remains. 3 seconds left to make the play. He's got his sidearm out to try and move just that inch or two faster through the Banshee, yet it won't matter, unfortunately. Hyper takes him down. It's yet another round on the board for DZ.
These are just perfect defenses so far from DarkZero. They're not doing anything magical. It's really just down to the setup and how they're playing these engagements, forcing the Sonics to wait on that timer and make them make the aggressive moves. I mean, even inside of the last 20 seconds there, we saw Kansan try and bait out I assume Eclipse from inside of like the master closet. Like, that guy's not going to aggress on you, Kansan. You're on offense, man. He doesn't care about you. He wants you to push. You're on that timer. He's not going to give you an opportunity to try and work your way into sight, and that's what the Sonics are dealing with right now. DarkZero aren't getting into their faces except on the utility front. They're simply shutting them down at the door and forcing the Sonics to actually hard execute into the site where DarkZero can simply clean them up. When they disengage, when they have these disengaged, or not disengaged, but disjointed pushes and they're losing these bodies early, that's where DarkZero just take over the entire round and they don't really have to do anything anymore. I mean, they're man up, they are able to hold crosses, and they simply have to wait out on the timer until the Sonics try to flood site, and they kill them hopping in windows. It's pretty straightforward, although DarkZero are, again, doing it extremely well with their own defensive setups that are making it difficult for the Sonics to try and clear a lot of these things.
No easy solution, it seems, for DarkZero's issues with being able to hold control of bathrooms and a cafeteria holds. They're instead going to go for the meeting room play for the final round here, which will be a different site than they used previously. Obviously, we had the cafeteria hold, the upstairs clear from the Sonics to kind of get that very nice map hole from the roof of the small tower into the side of the showers wall. Ended up working out perfectly for them, and I'm guessing DarkZero doesn't want to try and counter that directly in this next round here, so they'll fall to their backup site instead, hoping for better results. We'll see just how well that will pan out for them. Sonic's drone work early on going to work its way into small tower. Kansan also very quickly moving in to take full cafeteria control, and it looks like he's probably going to get it as well. But that's not the only place we're seeing members of the Sonics try to move in. Looks like Big Tower also being taken pretty quickly here, or at least, or excuse me, not Big Tower. It looks like we're Master being swung in here by a couple players from the Sonics as well. Got my map wrong here, oriented incorrectly today. My bad.
Oh, how dare you! Singular room, and it's the most important room here. No, not really though, but master control, as you were saying, going to be taken over by the Sonics as they'll try to handle this top hold here from DarkZero. Now, not very many reinforcements supporting this roam game from Mint and Hyper, and this is where things could possibly go wrong. There's already attic pressure coming in from the Sonics, could possibly swing out here, but I assume that's the hologram, and I am correct. Rexen moving in to try and get some intel, but now it's up to Hyper and Mint. This is going to be for who can possibly win this round.
Great nade.
Lots of damage with that frag grenade onto Mint. He's practically one shot at the moment. Stun grenades in as well. He's effectively been downed now. Actually has been confirmed as well. Super, not with a frag just yet. Could possibly have his first one coming in just a couple of moments, but instead confirmed by Rexen and behind the dorms area. Hyper will avert the entire situation as he instead drops down the hatch to help out the rest of the squad.
That's a big pick because that was the player playing close contact for Big Window, and that was where in the 3v4 that they attempted to pull off in the last Kids Execute, they immediately lost one of their players. So now they've got more than likely at least a guaranteed hop in at Big Window, assuming nobody from DZ moves in to take the place of that player. Sky is getting hunted down by a nade here as well. Just can't seem to escape the Sonic's frag power at this point, unfortunately, it seems. But either way, going back to the point there, that player now gone. That's another angle getting opened up. He's going to have to be very careful about the way things proceed from this way forward here. Hyper actually moving back in from the attic, though. The members of the Sonics, assuming they have already cleared out this roam position. All wrong to assume so. As another member from DZ is going to rotate back in through attic and start to cause problems here. Hyper specifically getting in the way of it, and how just locked in like an endless duel, it seems, with another player on the other side of this one. Skies is going to go down from the inside of security, but it seems to not really matter, as one, he's not even fully dead yet, and the members of the Sonics are getting dropped like crazy aside from that. Now, with Rexen's pick, that evens us back out into a 2v2. Here comes the first plant attempt from Yeti, going to work its way onto the ground. Rexen definitely taking some heat, and Eclipse to finish it off with a beautiful pre-fire. It's him and NJR now going up against Yeti, and Yeti's not even gonna last that long. Immediately retaken by DarkZero. They'll get their 5th round on the board as the first half comes to a close.
Eclipse is just scary when it comes down to situations like this, man. I mean, yet another round from DarkZero. They're able to lean on that timer and make a play into that late time in order to win the round. Some really solid stuff from them overall, but this is the first time that we actually see the Sonics take control of the map in a way to where they actually have a chance to get a plant down. Now, the problem that the Sonics were presented was Hyper rotating back upstairs, and the issue is that the Sonics weren't necessarily set up for a late rotation from the defense because they hadn't been, presented that situation just yet. DarkZero didn't have an opportunity for those late round flanks to be pulled off. That was the perfect opportunity for Hyper to actually make that play, get upstairs, and take control of that entire situation for the defense. Some really solid stuff that not only delayed more time, but was also able to put the Sonics in quite a predicament when it came to how they wanted to handle that top floor engagement. And DarkZero now 5-1 up on the Sonics. These defenses just way too damn strong. But we're finally switching sides, folks. DarkZero once again up 5-1 to the Sonics as they're going to be switching over towards the offense. The Sonics now downstairs, and across the board, they're just looking kind of slow today. That's about it. Everyone's not really having the best game. Our highest KDA right now is 5-1-5 as Rexen, and our lowest one being 0-0-6 as Super.
5 seconds to insertion.
You know what that means, right?
What's that mean?
Got a secret agent warning coming in here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did somebody get Valley in here? We need him. He's hanging out my friend Owen.
Owen's also coming in for a visit.
Dude, my favorite one with zeros, man, has always been like, man, this guy's making donuts and stuff like that, like working at Dunkin' Donuts, those kind of things. So funny.
Right,
Anyways,
guys, well, keep your eyes on the scoreboard there for Super. We might hear the theme song in a second if you listen carefully enough. But either way, here we've got DarkZero droning out mainly towards the big tower here to start out round number 7, as you'd kind of expect with a basement attack. A couple other areas of the first and second floor also going to be getting worked on. Bit of danger here is Clip's going to work his way upside down into the tower here. Obviously, we saw example in our previous matchup of how that could potentially not go so well for not loading in specifically that player's case, but not going to be happening this time to the members of DZ, as it looks like they're going to get control of big tower without too much of an issue.
All right, well, first minute off the board, and as you were saying, not too big of an issue so far for DarkZero. No roam game for the Sonics. This is just very basic bones as to what we're used to seeing downstairs. I mean, honestly, across the entire board, really the only new thing being the Aruni, but completely makes sense. They want to try and use her to prevent not only the electrical door, but also the E-box hatch. There's just way too much stuff that she can possibly influence there, and really, really a nice operator to bring into the lineup for that exact reason. The halfway mark now, though, as DarkZero's already gotten open the meeting hatch, I'm assuming, as well as working on the security hatch as well. So everything going extremely well for them. Really nothing to call back about just yet for either of these squads. They're simply just waiting for these first strikes to happen.
Rexon gonna very quickly get overwhelmed. In fact, no, he may thrive upon it. That second flash, though, destroys his POV. He has to run away as quickly as possible. And to get avoided by a drone spot, but also in case there was a drastic follow-up from the members of DZ, he would have had to avoid that too. Thankfully, not going to be the case, though. So Rexon, along with the rest of the Sonics sitting at the bottom of the staircase, will stay alive and continue to waste out that remaining 50 seconds still sitting on the clock. They're going to try to chuck in their frags here. Problem is, you got magnets, you got Soraya gates, you got a lot to try and work past, and not a lot of time nor utility to try and do that, with the X-Kairos also getting denied here by Grixer. The nade goes in, does not deal with the Soraya gates, but in a few seconds here, Grixer may have it as an option again to try and redeploy here. Rexon still with control of the back stairs, too. Things are starting to look drastic indeed for DarkZero. Kansan finally getting the first kill in about 25 seconds, but it's not looking good for DZ as it's against them. NJR going down. No sign of any trades coming in here soon. DarkZero have to force the issue in a moment, and they're going to get it done. Grixer with another one. Eclipse, the only pickup so far for DarkZero. And then Grixer and Yeti finish it off. An incredibly solid hold from the Sonics gives them a very promising start to the second half.
Oh man, that electrical room setup, now that I've seen it a couple of times, it's just so difficult to get through. So what they're doing is not only are they setting up the laser gates on every door and hatch that's available in there, so obviously the one going to pillar, the one going to site, and then regular hatch, but they're also adding all of those Wamai discs to the ceiling like we saw right there, and you were talking about, Blue. That's just so much utility inside of one place, and the problem is that E-box is extremely important when it comes to winning the round for that offense. If you're going to take via construction and big tower, you have to have control of E-box. If you don't, you're more than likely going to lose the round because you only have access through elbow to the back of stock, as well as pushing up freezer into the other door. They have an entire safe haven that they can play around and possibly swing you off of, and that is not what you want when you are the offense. So they try to get control of that, but they have to dump so much utility in there, and on top of that, inside of the dying moments, the Sonics start to pick up a lot of frags. It's just too much work for DarkZero in front of them, and they're not able to get it done. Really solid stuff from the Sonics, and that electrical box setup, I don't think that we're going to be seeing a lot of people do it any different anymore. I mean, that just seems so difficult to get past with the amount of utility needed.
Small gaff from the Sonic side of things here at the beginning of the round, as Grixer is going to take damage from a teammate, just a bullet or two, I think, trying to shoot something. Ended up crossing Grixer's path, and he's going to be at about 70 HP as a result of that. Nothing that he can't fight past, but that's an extra bullet or two that he's not going to be able to take as a result of that. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but definitely is in Siege terms when 1 or 2 bullets can make the difference in the middle of a gunfight. Either way, we've got DarkZero out on the board. Big and small tower control are going to be the initial objectives here so they can set up a staging ground and, more importantly, use their drone presence to clear out any roaming presence that might be alive near kitchen for the inside of security, as you guys just saw the drones doing that exact work.
Okay, well, DarkZero, let's take a look on over at this camp and see what we got going on. Not too many big changes here, but an operator brought into the fold that we don't get to talk about nearly enough as opposed to how we used to be able to. Buck on Sky is one of his most known operators coming into the fold here for DarkZero, and that seems to be exactly why they're prioritizing this mid-floor clear. They want to get him downstairs inside of the kitchen security area and start having him using that skeleton key to break up the floorboards and force these Sonics members to move. And especially if DarkZero has the lineup set up on site for the crosses, that could mean a lot of frags going into the pockets of DZ. We'll have to see how that flushes out for the rest of the round, but that seems to be the game plan for the time being for the offense. As for the defense, though, just really simply waiting at the moment. Yeti in quite a treacherous predicament at the moment as well, as he's all the way downstairs, has 3 separate members all trying to murder him. He's almost gets one, but Eclipse only going to take half health and instead shoots Yeti and able to claim that frag. Quite a bit of time wasted for the defense there, but it still seems like DarkZero is good to go.
It's still an advantage to DarkZero. The question of whether the time waste will be appropriate or not, we'll answer that when we get later on to the round, as his impact will still more than likely be felt. DarkZero already having an issue back in the first round of this half of being able to execute with enough time. Sky's been potentially having the lineup there if he went for the skeleton keys but didn't want to commit to it. Super's going to continue to hold the corner position by big window as a result of that hesitation. The drone will now confirm his spot, probably send Skies and other players back into that position. Can's actually going to take a little bit of damage as the skeleton key work gets done. Unable to find the player after the floorboards are dealt with, but now going to expose Super here. He'll lose half the HP in the process. Will he get on the board? Unfortunately not. Da-da-da-da! As he's going to go 0-7.
There's no way you just did that. That was insane.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god, I love you so much. No, it's fine. 27 seconds remain as Rexon's pushing forward, but he gets taken down from White Stairs. It's DarkZero all the time as the black hole absorbs the Sonics and crushes their spirit. 6-1 in favor of... I almost said 7-1 there because of the double 7 thing. Anyways, yeah,
I like that
DarkZero
black hole
6-1
reference though. That was good. I like that wordplay.
That was really, really good stuff. That was solid. Solid. Anyways, dude, so far, the Sonics just not able to get things going. It just seems like DarkZero are beating them when it matters most inside of these rounds. The rounds that the Sonics were able to get were done extremely well. We're not trying to take anything away from them, but as for the 6 rounds that they have lost up against DZ, DarkZero simply nipped them at the bud at the most inopportune time for the Sonics, and that just continues to happen to them. So it's kind of a big issue for them right now, whether it be in the utility department or just not able to get the frags necessary. It changes almost every single time, but I feel like the biggest issue for them, especially on that offense, on their offensive side, excuse me, was the time. As of right now on the defense, it just seems like they can't handle what DarkZero's throwing at them.
Definitely seems to be the case here. It's a momentary kind of spark of light in the previous round there, but as we're seeing now, DarkZero quickly rebounding. And the members of the Sonics, not really with much of a choice here, but to reattempt the same thing. Of course, they could go for the other sites as well, the 2 downstairs sites. But as I was mentioning, that is generally not going to be the stronger option for defensive teams, just because that's usually the last choice, and as such is generally perceived to be the weaker and more exposed option. So they have to try and go for the kids' dorms defense again. But how do they fix these glaring issues that led to a flawless round in favor of DarkZero? That's going to be the big question as we head into what is potentially going to be the final round of this match.
You want to know what my big question is?
What?
Does Super get a kill or an assist in the 24 minutes of play that he's going to have here? Because right now, it looks like he's on the bench in the NBA game, and they're like, you know, guys, he had 24 minutes in the game, 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds. He's just here. I don't exactly know. I think his first name's Daryl. I don't know. It's just not good.
I think he's just saving stats. I think that's what he's doing. We hear a lot about how teams like to save strats. We don't really hear a lot about how players like to save stats, though. I think that's a very valid point that needs to be made here.
Super's actually like a really big battery, dude. Super's like a big battery. You just have to beat him up, and then he just stores all of the energy of him just getting absolutely destroyed, and then he's just going to unleash it all at once, and he's just never going to die ever again.
So basically, he's Godzilla? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, Super's the Godzilla of North America.
Yeti with a actually probably pretty good position here if he was able to utilize it. Unfortunately, going to get pressed back by a drone early on, so we'll have to hide in the depths of Kitchen to potentially take a fight against NJR or even another member of DarkZero should they move in for the roam clear here. Yeti's position once again sussed out, but this is an expected one, so probably not going to shift from here. We'll try to thrive upon it, in fact, and see if there's any capability to play around this spot now that his teammates are going to be able to support him from upstairs through top-down angles.
All right, well, DarkZero out and about on the map now. Minute off of the board, and their clear has been going just as beautiful as it normally does, working their way up through the showers area of small tower, simply waiting at the bottom white door to make their entry point as the rest of DZ sets up to take map control. They've already got big tower work going on as well as they're attempting to clear out this entire map, but obviously since this is the top floor, they're going to want access to two different parts of this top floor area to make things a little bit more difficult on this defense. With the change up in that lineup on offense, we're no longer going to have, or actually, excuse me, we are still going to have Skies on the Buck, but what we really wanted to note was the change up for the Sonics on playing down low. They want to try and prevent DarkZero from getting that Buck in and trying to make these plays with that skeleton key.
Going to start to get a lot more tense here as we come down to the wire once again. That final minute and 15 seconds that as we approach it here, the Sonics still looking to hold on here, and at the same time still looking to try and leverage kills against the DarkZero members. I mean, we've got a couple of people pretty far out and exposed too, still roaming on the first floor. This could become problematic for DarkZero if they don't have a great handle on the current lineup here. A lot of potential flanks to line up against these players, just like we're seeing here. Rexon finding the first pick against NJR, attempts to trade that back in, are coming in now, but so far not happening. Spaghetti's position, or not Spaghetti, Yeti's position, just too strong here, as he's going to be able to take out Hyper and one other player as well. Grix are getting one too. This is the Sonics we needed to see, and they're coming in with full control in the midst of this round.
Gonna say, Mint, you're allowed to die to anybody, but just don't die to Super. The Sonics claim the round on a flawless victory, and honestly, they didn't need Super in that one anyways. He simply needed to sit in sight and sit on his utility. Some really, really solid stuff across the board for the Sonics on the roam game. Exactly like what we talked about earlier on. They play the downstairs area for kitchen as well as security to prevent DarkZero from pushing in there with the skeleton key of Buck. That's gonna make it to where, well, in that instance in particular, DarkZero simply sit on the timer. They didn't know exactly how they wanted to handle the situation because they didn't know the amount of angles going in there, so they didn't clear them out. Instead, they go for a site execute up top just like normal, but that didn't work out either. The Sonics continue to pick up frags, especially over inside of Attic, with a great play from Yeti, using that hatch to his advantage inside of meeting.
All right, well, let's find out here. The basement hold is going to turn out well for the Sonics. Definitely a much better turn of events, using their map control to their advantage, spread their wings, and start working against the members of DarkZero the best way that they knew how they could, and it worked out beautifully. A flawless round from DarkZero responded to by a flawless round from the Sonics. This match maybe making itself to be a bit closer than we were seeing going into the second half here. 3 more rounds are what separates the Sonics from a comeback against DZ. Would have to be a perfect runaround of their site triangle from this point forward. And they're going to start in the basement, bringing a lot of what we expect here. Stokes is already talking about it, this electrical setup with the Soraya gates as well as all the other forms of utility that can be chucked in here. We have the Wamai, we have the Jaeger. That's 3 different forms of like nade deletion or otherwise utility management that you have coming from that room. And that's also a room that the attackers, again, just going back to Stokes' excellent point from before, is a room that the attackers in a lot of situations need to take control of. So if that's in the lexicon here for DarkZero strat for this round, sorry, I ran out of breath, then they're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that when we get to the late round execute.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. Guys, I didn't pay him, I promise. I promise. Anyways, going into the possible last round here between these two, match point right now for DarkZero as this offense has already began to pop off. Sky's getting top control and worrying about the main stairs along with everything else. Some really, really solid setups here for DZ. You can see Skies is prioritizing all of the doors that are going to lead to downstairs, whether it be the main stairs or the freezer staircase as well. They want to make sure that the Sonics have no opportunity to try and rotate out of that basement. Much rather just hold them still while they punch them, and we'll see if that one works out in their favor. A minute off the board now for DZ, as this is just going to be a continuation of what we've already discussed through this. They need to clear out the rest of this top area and actually work on getting this hard destruction done, prioritizing more than likely the meeting hatch, and we'll have to see exactly what they get along with that.
Going to be a bit of a build-up here since we are in the basement once again. The Sonics choosing to go back to what's already worked for them previously, which is that bunker hold, which is the focus on maintaining the electrical as well as back stairs control. We can see some drone work being done by DarkZero over by front stairs, over by the laundry push, and that may be an option coming into play here now as well to try and avoid the setup towards electrical. You still have another Soraya gate to deal with, though, on the way in there, as well as at least one ADS, probably a couple magnets, too, if things are being set up properly. So there's no easy option to get into this site, no matter which way DarkZero looks at it here. They're going to have to try and brute force the utility past something. We'll just have to see what that'll be over the next few minutes. Soraya Gates going to eat that one up as the frag grenade bounces just a little bit too far. Thankfully, they will be able to send the second one out after the fact and destroy the barbed wire, which was the original intention.
Yeah, Sky is trying to hit a trick shot with that frag there and make it bounce under the laser gate to get the barbed wire and everything. Not able to make it happen, but now down into the dying moments here. Still a lot of utility for the offense to worry about, but a frag now coming through when it's needed most for the Sonics. They're able to get one, but Skies has forced his hand. He takes down one Super with his first kill of the game, takes down Eclipse, and now the Sonics burst ahead. DarkZero, very minimal time remaining, but they still have both their fraggers alive. NJR inside of Freezer, as well as Hyper inside of Construction, who will be able to strike first. Hyper doesn't exactly have too much assistance from his teammate. Has to worry about one inside of Construction, but now it's all down to the rookie player. The recent pickup from DZ, not able to close it out. NJR and DarkZero still locked in a battle with the Sonics.
You can tell there's a lack of intel there from DarkZero as they're trying to just brute force their way past the setup that time around there with about 30 seconds left and the same problem as the last basement attack. No real progress had been made, so instead of wasting a remaining 10 out of that 30 seconds or so trying to chuck out all of their utility, which half of which will end up deleted, the other half may end up in the wrong spot, they decide to just brute force it, and unfortunately it does not go the way they would have liked. The Sonics shut that down, as you folks at home might have been expecting, forcing us into another round and another site defense here for the Sonics as they head into meeting hall and kitchen for the next round.
All right, well, just remember, every single one of these rounds, the Sonics have to win. Otherwise, DarkZero are taking this dub. As you were saying, we're going to kitchen and meeting, and this is usually the favorable site of meeting or cafe, but we've seen a lot of teams flip-flopping back and forth. And honestly, I feel like they have a little bit more success on meeting per se, but I don't think that it really is like that big of a percentage in between the two. So as for the Sonics, they want to go for the meeting hold instead. You can't exactly knock it in the slightest. We'll have to see exactly what the hold is when it comes down to it, but they should be prioritizing not only the top floor area with the attic, but also the basement inside of E-Box. You can see the hatch popped open next to Yeti right now. So they are going to actually close up the top hatch as well. So that's actually going to be a pretty solid. It doesn't seem as though they're going to want to reinforce on the other side, though. Instead, Super's actually going to come upstairs and pops open this attic. So it's actually extremely interesting. This is given some similar vibes to what we saw with Sonic's attack, where they were able to take control of this top floor.
See how it all builds up into an execute. Of course, the Stokes is mentioning some interesting tidbits to specifically how Sonics are trying to set up this upstairs hold for themselves. Some aggressive angles, once again, specifically from Yeti at the beginning here, too, as he tries to take a contact by the front door. Not going to get it, though, as it does look like the majority of DarkZero's players are moving towards the master balcony, as well as other areas on the map, like big and small tower that we've already been seeing used previously throughout the course of this half here. NJR will quickly get open the attic window, too, to begin to put additional pressure on any additional players from the Sonics that might be holding up here and looking to try to get aggressive against the swings from DZ. Going to be a lot of this posturing, though, for the next minute or so. Once again, this has been a very slow building half on a round-to-round basis, and no real reason to believe why this round would be any different. Could get ourselves a couple of roaming duels in the next 30 seconds or so before the Sonics players have to pull back to the site, but other than that, this is all up to DarkZero to dictate the pacing right now.
Yeah, and it's quite the slow one for the time being. DarkZero trying to understand exactly what's going on inside of this building before they step inside, and you can't exactly blame them. There's a lot of Sonics members simply around the entire map. Dirks are all the way over inside of tower, some dorms players as well. There's just a lot of action to be had here for DZ. Some good drone work will find Rexon inside of concrete, as he'll be able to get 2 drones, but No one capitalizing just yet, and this is definitely looking like a DarkZero offense here, as they're going to be slow to the upswing, but can't complete the actual take. Kansan gets one, Grixer gets the other, and DarkZero falling apart at the seams. Another frag grenade in for Mint, but is actually going to get eaten up. He can't seem to find a singular person to try and help him with this situation. Finally able to take down Rexon as they enter the last minute, but it's continuous engagements across the board here for DZ. They are not able to find an equalizer that they were so desperately looking for.
Just seems like it's so unpredictable to play from the individual members of the Sonics. They don't know if they're going to swing an angle. They don't know if they're going to hold an angle. So the drone intel that DarkZero is getting isn't being as useful as it could be, just because they can't reliably predict the patterns that their opponents are trying to play into this. Like right now, you got Kansan directly challenging there. Okay, he's going to be found out, but look at how quickly he changes that up. Immediately goes to a different spot here, not making it the easiest thing in the world for DarkZero to try to piece apart. Nade's obviously going to easy that up just a little bit here as it chucks it in, forces the player out, maybe even to an angle where they'll have line of sight onto him or her. But there you go. DZ gonna find not one, but 2 kills. This is big right here. This is exactly what they needed for the closeout. NJR is gonna get the third, all onto Grixer now, and he's got 7 seconds to delay. Mint gonna try and put the case down on the ground, and NJR will deny the defuse cancel there as Grixer goes down. And finally, after a very, very nice comeback attempt from the folks on the Sonics, we're going to see DZ close out the map in their favor.
What a showing here from DarkZero. Not scared in the face of danger up against the Sonics, claiming Oregon 7-4. And some really solid stuff across the board. I think that DarkZero is really starting to come into their own with this roster. As we've talked about in history, whenever DarkZero makes a roster change, this is a team that has a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with how they set things up and how strong